Good morning, church. I hope everyone is well. We'd like to know that we're back. I hope you haven't missed our presentations too much last week, but we heard from several individuals who expressed the fact that they had missed those times for us to be together. So we have rethought this and have decided to continue to have our daily presentations for a while at least. There are times in our lives where we have to make decisions. Actually, we make decisions every day. Some decisions are just inconsequential, but there are others that are very significant. One of the decisions that we have in our life to make is whether we're going to serve the Lord or not. And if we are going to serve Him, are we going to do it continuously and faithfully? That's the single most important decisions that we have to make. If we look back in the scripture here, Joshua recorded back in the 24th chapter where he was dealing with the Israelites, and as they were getting settled and doing the things, day-to-day things that they were doing, they were kind of losing sight of who God was to them. And they were starting to, some of them, worship other gods. And so Joshua called them together and said, we've got to talk about this, basically. And in the 14th, starting in the 14th verse, he records, "Now fear the Lord and serve Him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worshipped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." After that, the Israelites do express the fact that yes, they want to serve God. The God that brought them out of Egypt and the God that has provided for them. Keeping in mind our perspective on how we need to be obedient to Him, there's terminology that's used that we are slaves to Him, slaves to righteousness. We have been set free from the old law, and Paul talks about that to the Romans. And in the 14th verse of the 6th chapter, he mentions the fact that for sin no longer is our master, because you are not under the law, but are under grace. And then he goes to say, starting in verse 15, "What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? By no means. Don't you know that when you offer yourself to someone as obedient slaves, you are slaves to the one you obey, whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness. But thanks be to God that though you are used to be slaves to sin, you have come to obey your heart and the pattern of teachings that has now claimed your allegiance. You have been set free from sin and have become slaves to righteousness." So the scripture does tell us that we're slaves. We're slaves either to sin or to righteousness, to Him. And that's something that sometimes we need to be kind of reminded of. Life kind of gets in our way at times, and start taking things for granted. And this is one of those things that we should never take for granted. We should always be looking to Him and appreciating the fact that He has done for us all that was needed to reconcile us back to God. Christ has. And we need to live our lives for Him. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.